I'm not going to bury the lead here. Sitting courtside at an NBA game was one of the best sports experiences I've ever had. It was easily one of the most fun nights of my life. And real talk, I've done and been to a lot of really cool music and sports things in my life, including 2 college football national championships. Does that want to focus? There we go. And the Nuggets winning the NBA championship last year, so that's saying a lot. Sitting first row courtside for an NBA game was truly an experience. So in this video, I'm going to share how we got the tickets, what it was like from start to finish, including all the perks, what I would have done differently, and if I thought it was worth it at about $1,800 a ticket. Also, just in case you're planning a surprise for someone special in your life, keep watching because I'll share how my wife got this to happen at the game for my birthday. I don't think that there's a video that covers the courtside experience from start to finish, so I'm really excited to relive this night through these clips. This is going to be awesome. Let's do this. So first, how did we get these front row tickets? My wife and I have had season tickets to the Nuggets for about 5 seasons now, so we went through our season ticket rep, but that's not a requirement. In general, ticket reps want to make relationships with people who want to spend a crapload of money on games, so it might be easier to reach out to them instead of clicking on every single game hoping that there will be availability. It's almost the All-Star break right now, and these were the last 2 front row courtside tickets available for about 2 months that weren't resale. We actually got them at face. It happened to be my birthday, but we were also playing Portland that doesn't have a lot of star power without Dame anymore. We were also willing to sit behind a hoop instead of on the side if it meant that our feet were on the court, so that helped our cause. And by the way, there were 0 seats available on the side of the court, which I think is what a lot of people think of when they say courtside. Those tickets were also about 40% more expensive than sitting behind the basket. I actually really enjoyed the view from behind the basket, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Now, this is going to vary a little bit team by team, but I bet the experience is pretty similar. At least for the Nuggets, sitting courtside gives you access to something called Club Lexus. We entered Ball Arena from a separate entrance with no lines and got a wristband that gives you access to the good life. And once you walk in, Club Lexus is kind of like your own special lounge buffet area with a ton of good food that you'd be really happy to see at like a hotel or a really fancy work offsite. All of this stuff opens up to fans sitting courtside about 90 minutes before the game, and you should absolutely eat. You'd be kind of nuts to miss it. It's part of what you're paying for. However, if we were to ever sit courtside again, I would probably get to the game 2 hours early, and you'll see why in a second. Whether you want some salads, snacks, a full meal, or literally hand-carved turkey, they've got it all there. If you're more of an in-game food purist, they also have a chicken tenders bar, popcorn, candy, and soda too. However you want to eat, you can do it inside Club Lexus. There's even grab-and-go stuff that you can take to your seat. I literally ate a fruit salad just because I could. It's kind of like when you go to a really fancy airport lounge for the first time before a flight, and you realize, like, dude, this stuff exists, and it really changes your experience of going to a game. At least for Nuggets games, this buffet area stays open till about the end of the third quarter, so if you're not super hungry right when you get to the game, or you don't want to arrive early, I guess you could eat during the first quarter in peace with no one there, but you'd miss a lot of the game. Okay, so all that food and snacks, those are great, but there's a dilemma that comes with that. When you eat right before the game, you are making a conscious decision to skip warmups, which is going to be a very hard decision for many fans. Warmups generally start about 2 hours before the game. It's like a casual shoot around, and players might be kind of slow motion walking through plays and stuff. This is a really good thing to ask your team's guest services department about what time this actually starts. In Denver, we walk out of the same tunnel as a team, which is kind of amazing. You feel awesome when you're walking into the arena. And warmups can be a really good time to snag some autographs or selfies with players if you're seated in the right section. We were allowed to watch warmups, but only from your assigned seats. If you live in Denver, like most of my subscribers do, we were in section 116, which is the same section as our season tickets, but obviously we were way closer. We were on the court, which is absolutely a treat in itself every time, not complaining at all, but We're on the visitor side, so that means that we're watching the Trailblazers warm up, not the Nuggets. So instead of Nikola Jokic, and it's Nikola, by the way, it's not Nikola, I had DeAndre Ayton, and instead of Jamal Murray, I had Anthony Simons. It's still cool, but it's not my home team. I was somehow friends with former NFL running back Lendale White when I was in college. Chauncey Billups is his cousin, and it was still really cool to see Chauncey, return to Denver and walk right past me on the visitor side. It's still an amazing experience, especially if you're a general NBA fan. You'd be happy to see anybody that up close and personal during warmups. But if you're going to sit behind a basket, this is something that you should think about. My wife and I both said that this would be the biggest thing we would change if we ever sat behind a basket again. We would sit on the other side so that we are watching our home team warm up. The next time you go to a game, maybe in a regular seat, pay attention to the side that your team warms up on and the tunnel that they enter the arena from. That's the side that you want to sit on if you want to snag some extra memories during pregame. All good though, we hung out, watched warm-ups for 20 minutes, and headed back in to get our food. Real quick, if you have season tickets like I do, I wanted to tell you about Tick Assist, which is how I sell tickets to the games I don't go to. It makes my life selling tickets so much easier. They're not sponsoring this video, I've just had a really good experience with them. Instead of having to post and constantly monitor prices across Ticketmaster and StubHub and anywhere else, and being worried about two people buying the same ticket at roughly the same time, which has happened to me once, Tick Assist does it all for me. They list my tickets on all the major marketplaces and adjust prices as needed. You just tell them which games you're not going to, and they take it from there. They even handle fulfillment, so you don't have to be stressed out about getting some random person's email address right. This means no more texting friends last minute or taking a zero on a game because you forgot there was one that night. They do take a 20% cut instead of Ticketmaster's 10% or StubHub's usually 15% or so, but to me, it's absolutely worth it because my tickets always sell and I don't have to think about it and constantly change prices. If you use my referral link that's on the screen and in the description, you'll get an extra $100 after your first sale totaling $200 or more. Okay, now with all that, let's head back to the court. Now let's talk about the game experience. You've been at the arena for maybe an hour or more at this point, and you're starting to settle into this weird dream that you're in for the night. The way that I've described this to friends is that it feels like you're watching an 8K and you didn't realize that other games you've been to were in standard definition. I realize that that kind of sounds like I was on drugs. I wasn't, but it's not a bad way to describe it. Not a flex, but I have been to so many big games in my life that it's really hard for me to feel some kind of way about a game. Sitting courtside 30 years ago, they would have said it is all that and a bag of chips. Just for a point of comparison, if you've ever been to like an NFL or a college football game, either on the sidelines or in the first few rows, it can actually be really hard to see the game because of the players' helmets and the very low perspective you have on the field. There's a reason why Madden and Tecmo Bowl both use their own respective overhead views. But when you're sitting courtside at an NBA game, you can really see it all and everything else that's happening in the arena. You'll appreciate so many things that happen during the game, the pre-game and in-game entertainment, and just all of the movement that's happening around you. Everybody warms up, including the refs. Even Rocky warms up and psychs himself up before he runs onto the court. The flag people run full speed and they will take you out if you are blocking their way. I've been to at least 100 Nuggets games and I've never noticed how Jamal Murray runs into this pad under the hoop during pregame. I've seen him hang from the rim before, but I could literally hear the impact when he did this during pregame. You see plays in a completely different way because you're really immersed in it. You hear the players talking, calling out plays, and you even hear their shoes squeaking on the court. If you're into shoes like I am, or maybe you're like a basketball sneakerhead, you can see every type of shoe that the players are wearing. That's how close you are. You also catch things that only journalists talk about, like how Michael Porter Jr. wears this big, uncomfortable brace on his foot to allow him to play because he has drop foot that was caused by his back surgeries. This is literally a giant brace for old people who have had strokes or nerve damage. Michael Porter Jr. plays with this brace on his foot with the best basketball players in the world. Let's put some respect on MPJ's name. Sorry, that's a tangent. Everyone will say this, but you realize just how fast and physical the game is. I know that people say like the NBA is soft now, but they take some big hits during the game. And yes, they're professional athletes, but you respect the physicality so much more because you can hear the slaps and the no calls and the impact when they hit the floor because these are like very coordinated giants running full speed on a hardwood floor. There was one point in the game where KCP got fouled and he's nearly slid directly into our feet, and the impact, it's just one of those things that I'll never forget. And as promised, let's talk about how my wife made this part happen. It was my birthday, and this was the most memorable birthday I've ever had in my life. If you're thinking of sitting courtside with someone special in your life, they will not forget it. It's really special, even without these extras that are not normal. Just a disclaimer, this is not a normal way to experience an NBA game. Okay, so I didn't know about this at the time, but my wife did some intense Googling, and she found out that most NBA teams have a program called like memory makers or memorable moments. These people are literally there to spread random joy during the game as long as you give them a heads up that you're going to be there. Since we were sitting in a really accessible location, I think that it made it even easier for them. You know how sometimes you see a baby with the mascot on the court, or maybe someone gets a birthday shout out during the game? That's probably the memory makers. Some things are free, like I got a little swag bag from them, and honestly, that would have been more than enough. I felt very special that they came to our seats. However, these people can also be the gateway to other special moments during the game. You just want to get on it really early. My wife started about 2 months early to get this visit from Rocky because you want to make sure the schedule isn't totally packed. If you can't tell, I love mascots, I collect them, I buy one at every stadium that I go to. Rocky has been a huge part of our lives the whole time that we've lived in Denver. Santa Rocky is like a Christmas tradition for us. I actually got our season tickets because Rocky was at an event that the Nuggets were doing that night. We just love it. So we are not your typical fans, but this was a milestone birthday, and the memory makers connected us with the right people to get something really special that I'll never forget. I realized that this took a lot of extra coordination and effort, so huge shout out and thank you to my wife and also all the people at the Nuggets and Kroenke Sports and Entertainment that made this happen for me. It really meant a lot to me. I will never ever forget this. Now for some more quick things that I would have wanted to know before sitting courtside. During the game, we had 2 opportunities to order complimentary drinks that would be delivered directly to our seats. It does make sense because when you're sitting courtside, you don't really have easy access to concessions, and Club Lexus, that's like a whole thing to walk all the way back there. If your team has the same food setup as the Nuggets do in Club Lexus, it is the right move to leave about 2 minutes before halftime to go get some more food or snacks. It gets really busy in there during halftime because everybody's going to go there. It's kind of fun, but a lot of people bring their best sneaker game when they're sitting courtside. I had my Jordan 5s on, but if you want to bust out your black cements or your breads, this is a good time to do it. At least for us, most people sitting courtside knew that it was something very special. They were not like, I do this every night, people who are kind of like poo-pooing the experience. It was really fun to have this like bucket list activity with a bunch of other people who recognize this is probably a once in a lifetime thing. Sitting under the hoop is actually kind of great. And even if you're in the corner like we are, there's always a player who's looking to get a corner 3, so you get very close to them. I think it's a great seat. Since teams switch directions at halftime, it's really cool because you get to see both teams coming directly at you for 2 quarters. Also, this is the variable pricing era of the NBA. If you don't want to spend a ton of money, this was already a ton of money, but if you don't want to spend even more, pay attention to the team that you're playing. The Blazers don't have a lot of star power right now. We had just played them on the Friday night before, so we saved a lot of money. I think that these courtside tickets are probably about half price compared to other games. Now, like I mentioned, these tickets were about $1,800, which is a lot of money for about 4.5 hours of sports. I love the Nuggets, and I've said on my channel before that if there's a game on my birthday, that's where I want to be, and I got to do it big this year. When I was a kid, I grew up going to preseason games in literally the last row of stadiums for tickets that my parents got for free. It's crazy to experience something like this coming from that. Even as an adult, this was really a dream come true, and those are hard to come by the older that you get, and I have a ton of vivid memories from this game that I'll remember forever. If you end up sitting courtside, or you're just deciding if you want to try it one day, I hope that this video helped you make a decision. And also, thank you for letting me share one of the best nights and memories of my life with all you guys. Huge thank you again to my wife and everybody at the Nuggets who made this happen. I loved it. Catch you on the next video.